Hello and thank you for joining me for the Lighthouse Scene Hanger June sew along. In this video tutorial, I'll guide you through the creation of panel 3 and the construction process of your Lighthouse Scene Hanger. For optimal results, I highly recommend following the provided instructions alongside this tutorial. You can find the link to our Facebook group in the video description, where you'll discover a 30% discount code and all the rules for our monthly competition for anyone that's new to our Sweepy sew along. If you find this tutorial helpful and enjoyable, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Let's get started.
Alright folks, let's start with panel 3, the lighthouse. Welcome to the steps for creating your beautiful lighthouse panel. Let's dive in and bring this masterpiece to life. First, secure the cutaway stabilizer in your embroidery hoop and load the lighthouse design onto your machine. Grab your trusty applique scissors and let's get started. Place batting 1 on top of the hoop stabilizer and stitch it down securely. Once that's done, remove the hoop from your machine and carefully trim the batting to about 1 to 2 mm from the stitching line. Nice and neat. Next up, let's stitch the place and line for the first fabric strip. Place fabric A right side up on top of the hoop, making sure it covers the place and line completely, and then stitch fabric A down. Now remove the hoop from your machine and trim the fabric to about 1 to 2 mm from the stitching. Remember to leave a little excess fabric in the seams. Now let's tackle fabric B. Stitch a place and line for the next fabric strip. Using the stitched place and line as a guide now, place fabric B on top of the hoop wrong side up, ensuring it crosses over the place and line by a 1/4 inch, with the excess fabric pointing towards the left side of the hoop. Stitch fabric B down. Fold it over, hold it taut, and stitch it down again. Now remove the hoop from your machine and trim the fabric to about 1 to 2 mm from the stitching, leaving that little bit of extra fabric in the seams. You're doing great. Repeat this stitch and flip process for fabric C, D, and E. Now following the same method of applique for the background land, use fabric F and do the same for the foreground land with fabric G, leaving some extra fabric in the seams. Next, follow the detailed instructions provided for embroidery steps 21 to 34. Let's move on to the lighthouse strips. For the first step, use a piece of fabric large enough to cover the place and line. Stitch the fabric down and trim, leaving the excess fabric in the seams. For the second strip, stitch the place and line, then place the fabric wrong side up, crossing over the place and line by 1/4 inch. Stitch it down, fold it over, hold it taut, and stitch again. Remove the hoop and trim the fabric. Repeat the stitch and flip process for the next 3 steps, trimming the fabric as needed. Then, embroider the satin stitch along the sides of the lighthouse. And finally, follow your instructions for embroidery steps 50 to 56 for the finishing touches. And there you have it. Congratulations on completing panel 3, the lighthouse. Now carefully remove the panel from the hoop and trim the seams about 1/2 inch. Set this panel aside and admire your work. You're one step closer to completing your entire project. Great job. Now let's move over to our regular sewing machine and let's join the panels together. To begin, carefully lay out your hanger panels in sequence, ensuring that the long sides are aligned. Place the first 2 panels right sides together, ensuring their edges match up perfectly. Pin along one edge, meticulously aligning the seams and corner points for accuracy. Next, on your sewing machine, stitch the side seam. Be sure to sew just inside the outer border line that's already stitched on the blocks. This precise placement ensures that the stitching won't be visible on the right side of the hanger later. Once the seam is stitched, carefully open it up and press it flat with an iron. Repeat this process for each subsequent panel, following the same careful approach. As you work through each panel, maintain focus on aligning the seams and corners accurately. Consistency in stitching and pressing will result in a polished final product. Now I'll show you how to add the loops to your hanger. Begin by retrieving fabric J for the loops. Then fold the fabric in half lengthwise to create a center crease. Next, unfold it and fold each long edge inward to meet at that center crease. Then, fold the fabric in half along the original center crease, encasing the raw edges inside. Finally, stitch along both long edges to secure the folds. Cut the loop in half and fold each piece. Machine baste them and trim as needed to create 2 even loops for your hanger. Next, pin both loops to the hanger, positioning them approximately 1.5 inches from the edge stitching of the hanger, adjusting as necessary based on the type of hanger you want. Finally, stay stitch the loops in place to secure them firmly to the hanger, ensuring they will hold the weight of the finished project without shifting or coming loose. Finally, trim around the perimeter of the hanger to ensure all sides are even. This finishing touch adds a professional touch to your workmanship. Now let's move on to the final steps of the project, creating the backing binding of the hanger. To begin, lay your backing binding fabric on your work surface with the wrong side facing up. Then place your sewn hanger on top of the backing binding fabric, ensuring the wrong sides are together. Pin them securely in place. For added stability, you may choose to spray them together with temporary adhesive. To keep the layers of your hanger together, we'll employ a technique called stitching in the ditch. This process involves sewing along the seams, which helps keep them flat during washing and ensures the overall stability of the hanger. Note that this stitching is invisible from the front and only visible on the back side of the hanger. Ensure your bobbin thread matches the backing fabric and use invisible thread for the top stitching. Next, trim the excess backing fabric so it extends precisely 1.25 inches beyond the edges of the hanger. This extra fabric will be used as the binding. Starting on any side, fold the backing fabric in half, then fold it in half again, ensuring you fold it just over the seam allowance. Secure your seam stitching and pin, starting from the middle and working your way out as you pin. Aim for a nice mitered corner when you reach the corners. Turn your binding in at the corner and continue folding in the same manner as you did for the first side of the binding. You can iron your folds as you go to ensure crisp mitered corners. Fold a final time and pin the corner in place. Continue pinning around the entire perimeter of the hanger. Beginning anywhere, sew the binding to the hanger just inside the folded edge of the binding. If desired, change your bobbin thread to match your backing fabric. When you reach a corner, leave your needle down, lift the foot and rotate the hanger. Put the foot down and continue stitching until you've sewn all the way around the hanger. Now flip the loops up and stitch the bottom of each loop securely to the binding. Finally, press your completed hanger to give it a polished finish. Congratulations, your hanger is now complete and ready to adorn your space.
Well folks, if you follow these instructions carefully, you should now have your very own amazing version of this Lighthouse Scene Hanger. I'd love to see your creations, so be sure to remember to share them on our Facebook group. Thank you so much for participating in the June Sew Along. For more designs just like this, head over to our website sweepy.com. And if you enjoyed this design and tutorial, please consider liking and subscribing. I hope to see you next time.